Hey guys, welcome back. We finished another exciting week, and in this video we're talking Hycroft Mining, a speculative junior miner that has had a spectacular run. For those of you that are believers or traders in this stock, 185% run up in the last 30 days. And as I've said many times, I know Hycroft has its share of haters. People get mad at others making money. We don't get mad at you making money here. We celebrate any of you who are massively up on this trade. But like all junior miners, as I've been telling you for 3 years, Hycroft is a speculative play because, as we all know, this company does not generate revenue, and it is in the midst of an exploration program. They have a technical report with economics due at the end of this year, and Hycroft, like many other junior miners in the gold and silver baskets, follows the prices of the metals market. So for those of you that are huge believers in the future of silver and gold prices, maybe you think silver is headed to $100 or gold 5,000 an ounce, this might be a really good trade for you. If you're not a big believer in metals, you probably don't want to be messing around speculating on junior miners, because most of them have uncertain time frames, and many of them have no revenue like Hycroft. So it is a gamble. It's not suitable for everyone. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to report on it. I've often been called a pumper of Hycroft, even though I usually don't even own it. And I've been called a someone that's paid by the shorts, paid by the hedge funds to give a negative view on Hycroft, which is also not true. Nobody has ever paid me for any comment or opinion on this channel. That is just nonsense from people who don't want you to get a middle of the road, non-emotional analysis of a stock. If you like Hycroft, I'll give you some things to be excited about. If you don't like Hycroft, I'm happy to acknowledge the negatives as well. I've been doing it for 3 years. Now let's get into the exciting news this week. And many of your questions relate to, how does this massive run up in Hycroft affect AMC? And what about Adam Aron's tweet yesterday that AMC was no longer in the red on their Hycroft position? Let's talk about those questions in this video. Hycroft has had, as you see on the chart here, this massive run up in the last 30 days, even more of a run up than 185% if you go back a few more than 180 days. And if you bought in Hycroft 3 years ago and you're still in the red, I am sorry that you didn't watch my videos 3 years ago. My very first video saying, heads up, this company does not have revenue, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to rehash all of the risks that I've gone over with you guys. I'm talking now to the smart ones who bought the dip and are now sitting speculating on a very nice junior miner that has no debt, and it's about to drop a technical report with economics, and they have completed in the last 30 days or so 2 private placements to huge institutional investors that enabled the company to pay off the debt in exchange for some dilution. But you can see with the price run up, even with that massive increase in shares, giving the private placements to these institutional investors, the market in general likes this ticker because the risk has been taken out of the trade. The company, with the money that it raised, paid off all of its debt, and they have, by my analysis, about 2 years of cash to cover exploration and operations. So more than enough to get us to the end of this year when we find out the technical report with economics. What is really next for Hycroft, and how much is it going to cost to build out the new milling plant? It's going to be a considerable amount. I'm going to tell you. I'm telling you right now. It's going to be an enormous amount of money. But in the plan, they should go over how are they going to pay for that. And that's what we need to see. So there is one big unknown out there, and that is part of the gamble right now. But the stock price is moving with gold and silver, because the higher gold and silver go, the more feasible this mine becomes when they do get into mining a couple years from now. And we can look at a couple of baskets that I have here. On the top is our basket of gold junior miners. And on the top right is the basket of silver junior miners. I have SLV, the ETF for silver, on the bottom left and Hycroft on the bottom right. You can see that these charts basically all have the same movement, showing you that Hycroft, it did get a little bit overstretched because of the company's specific news. But in general, the trend for Hycroft has been right on trend with all junior miners and the base metals themselves. We had a little bit of collapse in gold and silver today, the prices out on the metals market. So the baskets took a dip, and so did Hycroft. No big surprise if you follow the metals market, and nobody knows what happens tomorrow or next week. That is why when you're investing in metals and junior miners or anything really, everything has risk. We never know what is going on tomorrow. So you need to decide, are you a bull over the next 5 years about where you think gold and silver is heading from today's price, or do you think it's topped out? If you're making videos or talking on Twitter about $100 silver, then I'm assuming that you're bullish on the metals market, and you should be bullish on Hycroft, in my opinion, even though they don't have revenue. I get it, but we're not just micro-analyzing Hycroft here. I want you to look at GDXJ or SILJ and get to understand how junior mining baskets work relative to metals. And then when you open your mouth about where you think metals are going, you can pretty much guess that Hycroft is probably going to go the same direction, up or down. I can't tell you which one it's going to be. The crystal ball is not good enough yet. But I do know that Hycroft will follow the metals market, just like the gold and silver basket of junior miners will as well. So I am never going to be one of those people that pocket watches your investments or tells you that diversification is stupid. You should be diversifying into areas in the market that you understand or that interest you. Do not invest all of your money in one company. But if you like metals and you think that Hycroft is something you'd like to add to your portfolio, then by all means knock yourself out, and I will be right there rooting for you and hoping that metal prices go up. They certainly could. They certainly could. Nobody knows. Here on this slide, we have the brand new corporate presentation from Hycroft. You can find this on their investor relations page. And we have the new capital structure with the new cash raises. Some of y'all have been asking me, how much percentage does AMC own? I saw someone today asking if AMC still owns 22% of Hycroft. No, AMC owns about 3% of Hycroft. 51% from Eric Sprott, BlackRock, Tribeca, Schroeder, and Franklin Equity Group. Another 30% of other institutional investors, Libra, APAC, Regal, Helicon, and other would include AMC and insiders. And then how much is left over for retail? They don't even show that on here anymore. It's such a small amount, but I guess we could figure somewhere under 20%, because right here we have over 81% owned by institutions. Why does that happen? Why did it change so much? Well, for one thing, the new shares outstanding is 81 million. And keep in mind, if you're asking about AMC, they have 2.4 million shares after the reverse split. It is a very tiny fraction of the total shares outstanding, about 3%. AMC does have another 2.4 million warrants. And so when you see the difference between shares outstanding and fully diluted, if all the warrants that are issued to various parties are ever exercised, the share count could go up even more to 100 million. But when I say AMC owns 3%, I'm talking 2.4 million shares out of 81 million shares outstanding. I see a lot of different opinions out there on social media. Some of them make me scratch my head. In my book, 80% institutional ownership is a good thing. You should be more worried when institutions are fleeing a stock. And we don't have that here. We have institutions running to hand money to Hycroft in anticipation of what is coming next, I think, with that technical report and their bullish beliefs on the future of metals prices. Will they be right? I don't know. We will see. And if they're not right, maybe some of them will leave. But high institutional ownership should be embraced. And I want you guys to remember that when retail owns a stock, you should be asking yourself why the smart money is running away. I'm not convinced that we own the float is a great talking point. If retail owns the float, I'm looking around saying, why did everybody else leave? Why did they leave? And we don't have that here at Hycroft right now. We have institutions flooding into buying stock in Hycroft. And for me, at least for now, that is a positive sign. I know there are a lot of people out there on social media that hype up AMC's investment in Hycroft. It has been in the red for the last several years because Hycroft's in exploration phase. They have no revenue. They have been trying to raise money to pay off their debt. That mission is now accomplished, and you're seeing the price move back up because of that news and metals prices. But thinking forward, if you're wondering, like many of you have been asking me, how much money could AMC make off of Hycroft? And for those of you that are wondering, what could AMC's investment in Hycroft potentially be worth? Because I know, it's easy to imagine really big numbers when you listen to certain people on social media. I put together a table here for you of a compounded annual growth rate, and we could just see, what price does Hycroft need to get to by, let's say, March of 2027, when AMC's warrants expire. They have shares plus warrants. And what would that investment be worth at different compounded annual growth rates? And if, for example, in March of 2027, Hycroft hits $11.93, the far right-hand column, AMC would make zero on its investment for the 5-year period. But if Hycroft gets up to $14.94 in March of 2027, AMC's investment would be worth about $45 million, which is a 10% compounded annual growth rate. If Hycroft were to hit $27.48, that is a 30% compounded growth rate, and AMC's investment would be worth a total of $103 million. Keep in mind, AMC invested $27.9 million. So even if they made 30% compounded on their money for the entire 5 years, that would give them a total worth of their value of their investment of $103 million. I mean, 30% annualized over 5 years, that's a pretty good return. If you had just invested in gold the same day that AMC invested in Hycroft until today, you'd be looking at about a 25% compounded growth. AMC sitting at zero right now. They're about break even. We'll get to Adam Aron's tweet in just a minute. So maybe, as some have said to me on Twitter, AMC would have been just smarter to, with less risk, invest in gold and not deal with all of the concerns, company-specific risks of something like Hycroft. We would have been up 25% compounded annually if the company had just bought gold. That is true. And they're at close to break even at the peak of price of Hycroft on Thursday. So, I mean, that's a fair point. No one can argue that. But I'm only looking at it from the point of, is this company going to come out negative? Are they going to break even, or are they going to make money? I think we would all like to see them make money, and the higher Hycroft goes, the more we could extend this table. If Hycroft were to hit $30, $40, $50, I don't know, then AMC's annualized return could be much higher than 30%. We will know that answer in March of 2027. And more specifically, I think we'll have a better idea when we get the technical report with economics at the end of this year and see what the economics of Hycroft Mine are going to look like, and how much is it going to cost to build out that milling plant, and how are they going to cover those costs? A lot of things. There's going to be hundreds of pages probably for us to look at and discuss when that report is available. But this kind of gives you an idea. Now, some of you might think $103 million for a 5-year investment is not that much. And what could AMC really do with $100 million bucks when they have $4 billion in debt? If you think of it like that, I mean, that is also a valid point. 100 million towards 4 billion in debt is not that much, but this was also a very tiny investment. $27 million is not a lot. And so if they're able to turn 27 million into 103, you know, some people might call that a win. And I think that is fair as well. And I am just withholding judgment until we see the day that AMC said that they sold. And then I will cast my judgment at that point. Success, failure. I'm not going to be Nostradamus and tell you, like I heard people this week making videos saying Hycroft's definitely going bankrupt. Like, no, they paid off all their debt and they have enough cash to last 2 years. When that technical report comes out, for all we know, they could immediately turn around and sell the mine at a profit. So we will have the judgment day for Hycroft on the day that AMC exits the trade and not a moment before them. Now, as to Adam Aron's tweet on Thursday that said, as of the peak price on Thursday, I think it was around $9.75 that Hycroft hit, the AMC was no longer in the red on their position. And that position being an investment of $27.9 million. So I did some rough math here, and you can double check me on this. This is very back of the envelope stuff. But if he is correct, we know that how many shares the company owns. They would be worth at $9.75 about $22.8 million, assuming that was the number Adam was using. And that means that in order to break even or have $1 above break even, where you could say we're no longer in the red, the warrants would need to be worth at least another $5 million to get over $27.9 million. That's with Hycroft at $9.75. That means your warrants would need to be worth $2.18 each. Remember warrants, we've been talking about warrants a lot here with GameStop and Bed Bath & Beyond. They have intrinsic value and extrinsic value. The warrants here for Hycroft have a strike price, an exercise price of $10.68. So they are not in the money yet. Any value that you could calculate on those warrants is purely the time remaining between now and March of 2027. By my rough analysis, I could not come up with a valuation of those warrants of $2.18. I came in a little bit less than that. Some things could vary when you're running Black-Scholes depending on what you're using for your inputs into the model. So I'm not saying that my answer is 100% correct. And I also don't think that CEOs go on public media like X and lie. So probably they're using some different assumptions for their Black-Scholes, assumptions on volatility or whatever inputs they're looking at. And maybe they have a different value than me. My result was not 218. My result was lower than 218. 218 is what you would need to have to a warrant value today. They're not tradable publicly, so we don't know. We can just run Black-Scholes models. 218 is what you would need on the warrants as of yesterday or Thursday, or AMC to break even. So it's real close. It's real close. I mean, Adam could be right, but I couldn't get it to work. I could get it really, really close. We're just splitting hairs here at this moment anyways. It doesn't matter whether AMC is break even or not. Really what we want after 3 years is not break even. We want to see money on the table. We want to see money returned to AMC shareholders. We want to see an annual growth rate of 30% or more. That's what I want to see. So the tweet was fun. It was something to talk about. You can go run your own analysis and see if you think it was accurate or not. Don't forget the warrants have time value. And AMC has 2.4 million warrants, just like they have 2.4 million shares. 2.34 million shares, 2.3 1.4 million warrants with an exercise price of 10.68 on the warrants. So that is the numbers. That's what I've got for y'all. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. And let's cross our fingers that gold and silver prices continue their move up with all the uncertainty going on in the government, all the fears of a market crash. If you've been talking about those things, fears of a market crash, uncertainty in the government, uncertainty in global economics, you might also be bullish on metals. And I think you would be foolish not to be a little bit bullish on Hycroft, because it is going to follow the metals. And then we wait to see what is on the technical report at the end of this year. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you on the next one.